First, I want to thank everybody for coming. And I want to especially thank Diane Stoppel, the gallery manager, and Barb, who's over there, who's done a wonderful job. Without both of them, couldn't have done it. So what I'd like to do is ask if anybody has any questions, and I can take you on a tour and
Good.
tell you about something.
I have a question. Are these sequentially arranged in any way?
It's been a process.
Not really.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so let's go this way. Okay, I guess we could start with this one here. This one's called Proto-Slavic Bird Gathering Ritual. So the story on this was, my grandmother told me that in Poland, when people were hungry, they would dip breadcrumbs in vodka and they'd throw it out for the birds. So the birds would eat it and get drunk, and then the women would pick them up and take them home, cook them and eat them. So that's what's going on in this one. It's the second version of this one. The first I did years before, smaller. And what we got behind this? Oh, this one here. I did my school, you know. And so I had a math teacher, and she was pretty rigid. And so here I am as a little boy. I was kind of chunky. So I'm drawing a picture when I'm supposed to be doing the math lesson, you know. So it's called number 12, capable of doing much better. That's what I used to get on my report card. So that's that one. And this one, I've done this series of my Polish grandmother, geez, for years and years. I don't know how many paintings I've done of her. They're called Selling My Own Grandmother. So this is my grandmother in Clark Gable on an ocean cruise. So not much restored to that one. But this one here, my mother died in the kitchen, 1980. She told my father she felt a little faint, so she served him his food, and then she put her head down on the table and died right at the table. Blew my father away. He died a month later.
Wow.
So anyway, this is my mother's ghost. She's come back to life to cook for the ghost of the cat. We had Puppy, that was a cat, for 13 years. And so here's Puppy, and he's had a couple of fish skeletons. And my mother's cooking for the ghost of the cat, met back in the kitchen. So it has some of the stuff I remember, you know, the fuzzy stuff on the toilet seat, and the little toilet paper, and electric mixer, and utensils and stuff. So that's kind of what's going on there. This one, it's my dad. I painted several pictures of him. He was crazy about fishing, trout fishing. They even buried him with his favorite flyer and a cigar in his pocket, you know, in case of emergency. You know. So anyway, here he is fishing in my hometown. This is the factory in my hometown that everybody worked in, the textile mill. And my grandmother was walking by, and some of the various fish and stuff. So. And this one I framed myself. Back in the old days when I was real poor, I could buy strips of canvas real cheap. So I had some wood, and I tacked it with thumbtacks all the way around. So some of these I framed myself, other ones I didn't. So this is an original. That one's a G clay. Let's see. Okay. Benevolent beatnik uncle. So self-portrait. You know, once the black sheep of the family, now the benevolent beatnik uncle. You know. So. And Madonna, I did several of these. And I did a painting called Driven Crazy by the Moon. So this is son of Driven Crazy by the Moon. And I put different prices on it at times. If I didn't get the price, I'd cross it out and put another price. So the latest thing is, if you buy a painting for $10,000, I'll just throw this one in. So. And then my grandmother berating General Armstrong Custer here. The little bighorns going on back there, and she's going after him with a rolling pin.
Beating him with a rolling pin.
Yeah, this is painted on a piece of wood. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's the holy wafer of Social Security. Yeah. In gold we trust. No, this is Almighty Dollar. So this is holy wafer of Social Security. Tortilla on wood. This is called the Almighty Dollar. Unquestionable states of the Almighty. So it's in gold we trust rather than in God, you know. So that's that one. Vampires on Wall Street. Now, I saw this one in the papers. There was an article by Roy Lichtenstein, and they were selling this painting of his for 35 to 45 million. So his painting was, I could see the whole room and there's nobody in it. So I thought, well, I'll do my own version. I can see the millions of dollars. I don't see Roy Lichtenstein anywhere, you know? So kind of a comment on that. This one, another one from my series, Selling My Own Grandmother. It's my grandmother coming to the museum to see my exhibit. So I had a couple of pictures in the Albuquerque Museum. So actually these two. See, I did my own parody of my own painting. Absinthe drinker, grandma silencing the scream.
Yes.
So I showed them like that at the museum too.
It's such a great trip to.
Thanks. It was fun. It's fun to parody your own stuff. You can't go wrong.
You got it coming and going.
This is my own version of the famous painting by Edward Hopper, except mine is Dinner with Andy at the Nighthawk Cafe. So here's my grandmother with Wonder Bread and Campbell Soup and Andy Warhol and the frog. So.
When did the frog show up in your paintings?
Well, how that happened was there was a Japanese businessman I met at an outdoor show, and he asked me to paint a picture of either a blonde, which he was kind of enamored of, a frog, or VW. So I put them all in one picture called Blonde and Frog and VW in the great American Southwest. So that's what started it, and then 20 paintings later, I'm still working on them. So sometimes people suggest something, you know, and you go a little wild. Let's see what else is of importance here. Well, come on up this little alley here, yeah. His Van Gogh and Gauguin, the ramen eaters, based on the potato eaters. It's just that ramen is a lot cheaper than potatoes. You can stay alive for a week for about $1. You get 10 for $1. So anyway, here's Gauguin, one of his famous paintings, and Starry Night, Van Gogh, chopping up his ramen with the razor. And this one here, I thought, geez, what if Van Gogh had a dog, you know? So this is Van Gogh's dog. It might have brightened up his life a little bit. So the dog is sitting on the chair waiting for the Starry Night to get going. So that's kind of what's happening. So this is a Giclée, and I sold the original a long time ago. This one I still have the original, it's a Giclée. So yeah, they're different pictures from different times. I've been fortunate to have sold a lot of paintings in my lifetime. I would say I'm a couple ahead of Van Gogh, but he gets better prices than I do, you know.
Just a little
Anyway,
bit.
so this one here, this was under wraps until just recently. I've had this put away since 1995 or 6.
Wow.
So I finally framed it. It's 3 pieces. So I wasn't sure what to call it, so I called it Party Time with a Two-Headed Man. You
Those
know?
colors are so beautiful.
Thanks. It's
And then all that transparent stuff with the tie and everything. It's
pastel
really
and acrylic.
gorgeous painting.
Whatever. Thanks. Yeah, it's 3 strips of paper.
What's it
Yeah, it's nice to see it. And let's see, what else we got? Oh, this one here. Man with his world going to pieces around him. So, old girlfriend broke up with me. Things were tough. So I painted this one, and I had my name and address and my phone number on the guy's arm, but I kind of blocked it out so you couldn't see it. But it's that fragmented feeling you get when something like that happens in your life. So that's, and here's this is the cause of it. Here's my old girlfriend here. Anyway, anonymous urban sheet god. Back in those days, I couldn't afford to, go the regular route with framing and all that stuff. So I built this frame myself, and that's what happened there. Anyway, so I might be running out of time here. Let me see. Okay. Come on up this way. See what we can find over here. My plain fading here. I had this one in a show in Colorado, Loveland, Colorado Art Center, and I never would have guessed who was shown there. John Mellencamp. Yeah. So anyway, it's called A New Home in the Ancestral Land. So happy couple with their new home, but here are the petroglyph figures and the ancestral past, and you've kind of landed on top of that. So for better or worse. there it is. But I love this kind of paper. It's 300-pound, real heavy paper, deckled edge. It's pretty good. What else? This one here. Yeah, I did a whole series of these paintings. They were called "Suffering from the Curse of the Regional." And there's kind of a joke about a regional art. Everybody's doing Hollyoaks and all that. So I did my own version of it. So this is a Calle de las Hyenas. So this is what's going on. Nobody's looking at night. So this painting here, the urban wilderness, that came from a show called Not So Naive. People call me a naive painter, so the show was called Not So Naive, That was one of them. The Rasta Man. And probably the newest ones are these two right here. Wolf Men Howling at the Moon and Wolf Women Dancing in the Moonlight. These are my newest. I just finished. So the Wolfman started years ago. I looked at a book of illuminated manuscripts, and they had cows and wolves and all kinds of animals with halos. So I just went from there. It's kind of like my own personal connection to nature, I guess. Oh, and I tried scanning this, but it doesn't work,
Good.
Well, thanks. Okay, one more, and then this is a wolf charmer. It's based on a 19th century lithograph, and there were these people in the Middle Ages called wolf charmers, and they could call in the wolves, and they lived among the wolves, and they might even have been hired to keep the wolf away from the door in the villages. So that's what this one is. It's howling at the moon, and the wolves are gathered around it. This picture is about the oldest one I have in here. It's 1986, Say Goodbye to Grandma. So what the story is that my grandmother was dying, so my mother was taking care of her. So my grandmother lived in a little house in the back, and a storm came up, and we waited for the storm to be over to go check on my grandmother. So that's my mother and myself. And we went to check on my grandmother, and she had rolled over facing the wall. So she passed away there. So anyway, this is her spirit coming out of the house, and an angel coming to get her. And this is her ghost going to work in the factory. She worked in the textile mills. So that's where, there's the boss there with the horns. So anyway, that's basically it. She was a pretty powerful woman. She had 6 kids, and she owned her house and owned her land, and she worked in factories and was married 3 times, and she was a real go-getter. I was kind of afraid of her. So this one I had put away since 1995, and finally got a quick print. I've done several illuminated manuscripts, and this one is called Introduction to the Buzzard Cult. Anyway, so it's just kind of an absurdist kind of a story. One of my favorite parts is this is Franz Kafka walking his dog here behind the factory.
Great.
Anyway, yeah, it's just kind of like imaginative story, I guess you could say. And the first one I did was way back, 60s, first illuminated manuscript, but I don't have it. I sold it, and I don't have it, the photographs framed. So anyway, that's all one story.
Yeah.
And my friend Jim, I'm dedicating the show to my friend Jim. I knew him since 1968. We're real close friends. Actor, playwright, he did everything. He's a great guy. And he inspired me to leave New England and come out west. And that's where it really got started. If I'd stayed back there, well, I grew up in Rhode Island in a factory town. No galleries, no opportunities for artists. So I got a one-way ticket to Durango, Colorado in 1970. I got out of the plane, I looked around, and I thought, oh man, I'm never going back. And I never did. That was a long time ago. So I guess that's all. And thank you all for coming. I hope I shed some light on something.
Take some questions.
Yeah, sure, anybody got questions? Yeah.
Okay, I wondered if you could talk about the bread.
Oh, those bed ones?
The bread, yes.
Yeah, it's on Wonder Bread.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
what-
we were just talking about it. There's some people here who have a special interest.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, well, I let the bread dry out real good, and then I gessoed it, and then I very carefully painted on the bread. So babka bread is grandmother's bread. Polish women who make the bread, it's fancy Easter bread. And so I did self-portrait on Wonder Bread and my grandma's babka bread. I know she'd approve of all this, but so far so good, you know.
And we have babka bread
We do.
out on the table, chocolate from
Yeah, help
Trader
yourself,
Joe's.
eat as much as you want, we got plenty of food. So thanks to everybody for coming, I appreciate it. And but if anybody has any answers, I'd like to listen. Anyway, Barb, here she is. We're for her and Diane, this wouldn't happen.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks for
Thank
coming, I
you
really
very
appreciate it,
much.
hope you like it.